A student of mine recently asked me what kind of LSAT score goal he needs to set if he wants to go to a top law school. His GPA is roughly a 3.3. He wants to balance it out with a top LSAT score, and he's taking the LSAT this fall. I'm going to share with you the advice that I gave him in the hopes it can change your LSAT and law school admissions journey going forward for this cycle. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I increased my LSAT score from a 152 to a 175, and I've been teaching the LSAT for nearly 20 years now. And what I found is that LSAT score goals don't make a whole lot of sense, and they oftentimes lead students to aim lower than they otherwise would. This student said he was thinking of maybe going for a 165 because he wanted to go to a top law school, but didn't think he could get into a school like NYU or Columbia. Maybe he'd go for Fordham or Brooklyn Law School instead. He's based in New York City, and I'm from New York myself, so I knew what he was talking about. The thing is, there is a large range in law school prestige, law school rankings, and you won't get into a T14 unless you are willing to do what it takes to get into a T14. If your GPA is below the medians, you've got to balance it out with a higher LSAT score. And with a low GPA, a 165 likely won't even get you into Fordham Law School. Surprisingly enough, LSAT score medians are out of control. The grade inflation, the LSAT score inflation is higher and higher every single year. And you're not going to get a 170 unless you aim for a 170. Ideally, if you want a 170 on test day, you've got to be practice test averaging in a 173 or above to have a safety buffer in case you get a bad proctor or in case you have a tech issue. But no matter ultimately, whatever your GPA is, no matter what your law school goals are, you always are going to want to have the highest LSAT score possible because that'll open up more doors. It'll get you more scholarship money, it'll get you into better law schools, and possibly both. So if you think to yourself, I'm going to aim for a 160, or I'm going to aim for a 165, you're selling yourself short. And if you don't aim for a 170, you're not going to get a 170 because you're not going to be willing to put in the work that it takes to get a 170. Getting a 170 LSAT score is going to put you in the top 3, top 4% of all test takers out there. And so you've got to study differently than the vast majority of test takers if you want a score that's going to be higher than the vast majority of test takers. You've got to fundamentally prep in a different way. And typically, scoring 160 involves being able to consistently apply the strategies. But if you want a 170 or above, you've got to understand why the strategies work, and you've got to see the exam from the test maker's perspective. It's like the difference between asking me, how do I get faster on LSAT logical reasoning, and what is the difference between these two really rare types of logical reasoning questions? They don't fit the mold what I've seen before. I've done thousands of questions. How do I approach these seemingly unique logical reasoning questions? The former question, just asking, how do I get faster, indicates you may not have done that much up to this point. But when you go deep, and when you've looked at all the old logical reasoning questions going back 20, 30 years, that shows me you're putting in the work and aiming to understand everything under the sun. You're leaving no stone unturned. Now, there are roughly 60 LSAT practice tests in the new LSAT format without logic games, and you better bet that there are tons of students out there aiming for a 170 plus who are going to do all of those 60 exams. Maybe they've done all 60 of those exams already, and they're taking the LSAT in 1 to 2 months from now and applying the beginning of the cycle this fall. And so if you're aiming for January or February and you haven't even started yet, and you're thinking, maybe I'm going to go for a 160, you're not even playing in the same league, and you don't even realize it because you're studying for the exam on your own. You don't know others going through the process. And so one of the benefits of joining a community, a study group, a course with live classes is that you're surrounding yourself with other top performers willing to invest themselves in this process, gunning for those 170 plus LSAT scores, raising you up, motivating you, encouraging you to do whatever it takes to get there, carving out the time, blocking it off in your schedule to make it happen. And by the way, that is something we offer at LSAT Unplugged. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching to help you on your journey to 170 plus. If you're interested in finding out more, you can check out the links below this video to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. One of the things that we do for our students is we motivate them and encourage them to do more, to do better, to actually take those practice tests and get over the fear of measuring yourself, and to stop drilling questions and instead simulate test day conditions for what you'll actually experience on LSAT test day and review those questions in depth, look at your mistakes so that you can course correct for the future. I've developed a framework for the review process called the Socratic review method to help you do just that, to help you analyze in depth what mistakes you're making and why, so that you can avoid making them for the future and avoid making them on test day itself. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.